New York City. Honestly, it's probably the most iconic city on the planet. 8 million people call it home, and millions more are dreaming of moving there right now. I mean, the careers, the towering apartments, the relentless energy. There really is nowhere else quite like it. But hey, before you pack up your life and book that U-Haul, we need to have a serious conversation. In this explainer, we're going to look right past that glowing skyline and uncover the real, unvarnished math of NYC. We're building the exact receipt, dollar by dollar, to figure out the true cost of living in the city that never sleeps. Let's get into it.
So here's the core question we're answering today. What salary do you actually need to live in New York City? Now pay close attention to that word live. I don't mean just surviving. We're not talking about sharing a single cramped bathroom with 3 roommates and eating instant ramen every single night. No, I'm talking about actually living, having your own space, eating decently well, and, actually enjoying the city. Because honestly, those are 2 very different numbers. And unfortunately, most people don't find out the real number until they're already unpacking their boxes. So let's do the math together.
Okay, part 1, stacking the monthly expenses. Let's dive right in to building this budget. We're going to build your required monthly budget from the bottom up, starting with the absolute biggest elephant in the room. Yep, rent. For our baseline math today, we're looking at a realistic average 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, which right now sits at about $2,400 a month. But wait. Here is the massive hurdle, $7,200. Yet before you even sleep in that apartment for a single night, most New York landlords require your first month's rent, your last month's rent, and a security deposit all up front. That is a massive cash requirement just to get the keys handed to you. Wild, right? So $2,400 a month goes right at the very top of our receipt for rent. Next up is food. If you're disciplined and mostly cook at home, your groceries will run you about $450 a month, which, yeah, is a bit higher than the national average. Throw in maybe 2 modest restaurant meals a week and an $80 monthly coffee habit because, let's be real, if you've ever tried working in a Manhattan corporate office without a latte, you know it's basically impossible to skip it. Put all that together and you're looking at $730 a month for food. Our running total is already climbing pretty fast. Now, what's really interesting here is that we finally hit a rare, massive financial perk of this city. An unlimited subway and bus pass, the iconic MetroCard, is a flat $132 a month. Just think about that for a second. In almost any other major U.S. city, you absolutely need a car. That means $400 to $600 a month tied up in car payments, insurance, and gas. In New York, you get to skip all of that entirely. It is incredibly efficient, even if waiting for a delayed train on the Tuesday morning can seriously test your patience. Okay, let's add the standard, kinda unexciting bills to our receipt. Utilities like electricity and heat will average out to about $120. Your phone plan is another $80. Internet is going to be about $60. And then there's health insurance. Now, if you have a solid employer who covers a good chunk of your premium, you might only pay around $200 a month out of your own paycheck. If you're self-employed or lack coverage, oh boy, that number easily spikes to $350 to $500. But to keep our baseline realistic, we'll stick with a $200 employer plan. Next up, we get to the invisible costs. You know, the ones that silently drain your bank account while you sit there wondering where on earth your money went. Most New York apartments, for example, do not have a washer and dryer in the unit, so out-of-unit laundry will cost you around $40 a month. Add a $60 gym membership, $50 for your digital subscriptions, $80 for personal care and haircuts, and $100 for clothes, because when you walk literally everywhere, you burn through shoes insanely fast. Finally, budget $150 for going out a couple of times a month because the city is totally alive at midnight and you're going to want to experience it. All told, that's $480 in hidden costs. All right, we've got one final, absolutely non-negotiable line item to add to this receipt: savings. Listen, if you live paycheck to paycheck in New York, you are exactly one emergency away from financial disaster. You need a bare minimum of $400 going into an emergency fund every single month. Or better yet, look into tax-efficient savings methods like a 401k or a traditional IRA. These are super important because they actively lower your taxable income, and trust me, you're going to need that protection, as we'll see in just a minute. Add that in. And to actually live a normal, stable life in a Brooklyn 1-bedroom, your total monthly take-home requirement sits at $4,602. So, the crucial point to remember is, that's just your take-home pay. Which brings us to part 2, the NYC Tax Bomb. And this brilliantly illustrates why New York is one of the most heavily taxed places to live in America. It's actually one of the few cities with its own dedicated city income tax, stacked directly on top of state and federal taxes. Earning $80,000 a year means you're losing roughly 22% to the federal government, about 7% to the state, and almost 4% straight to the city. That is nearly 33% of your paycheck wiped out before you even see a dime. This is exactly why utilizing pre-tax transit benefits and maximizing those tax-efficient retirement accounts we just talked about are absolute survival tactics here. So let's do the final calculation. You need $4,602 a month. Multiplied by 12, that is $55,224 a year in pure take-home pay. But factoring in that massive 33% tax rate, well, to actually take home 55 grand, you must earn a gross salary of $85,000 a year. Let that sink in. That is the true sticker price of living comfortably in Brooklyn as a single person today.
Okay, let's pivot to part 3, neighborhoods and roommate economics. Let's see how we can actually lower these costs.
Look, if $85,000 feels steep to you, you definitely aren't alone. Let's look at how you can actually control these numbers by shifting neighborhood tiers. We already established that a Brooklyn one-bedroom demands an $85,000 salary. But what if your dream is to live right in the middle of the action? In Manhattan. Well, the average studio there pushes your rent to roughly $3,600 a month. Plug that into our tax formula, and your required gross salary jumps from $85,000 all the way to $108,000. Welcome to why literally everyone in Manhattan is chasing a six-figure salary. But here is the ultimate power move: roommate economics. If you take that $2,400 Brooklyn apartment and split it with a partner or a roommate, your individual rent portion drops to just $1,200. By slicing that biggest expense right in half, the gross salary you need drops from $85,000 down to a highly manageable $55,000 a year. That right there is the massive relationship and roommate incentive that essentially defines living in New York. It's a total game changer. Which brings us to part 4, making the math work. Here's a pretty stark reality check. The median salary in New York City right now is roughly $67,000, but our math shows you need $85,000 to live comfortably solo in Brooklyn. So how do millions of people bridge that $18,000 gap? Basically, they use 4 distinct tactics. Number 1, as we just saw, is getting roommates. Number 2, moving to the outer boroughs like the Bronx or parts of Queens for 30 to 40% lower rent. Number 3, relentless salary negotiation in a highly fluid job market. And number 4, the side hustle. Guys, New York is the ultimate side hustle city. Generating just one extra $1,000 a month on weekends can completely change your entire lifestyle. So, what's the big takeaway from this explainer? New York City is incredibly expensive. The upfront premium just to exist there is massive. But it is also one of the highest earning cities on earth, with a career and salary ceiling higher than almost anywhere else in the world. The people who truly thrive in this city are the ones who do the math, build their emergency fund, and plan their living situation long before they ever pack a single box. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Now that you've seen the exact receipt, is the massive career upside of New York City worth the upfront financial premium for you? Run your own numbers, do the math before you move, and decide for yourself. Catch you in the next explainer.